Hi, my name is Robert Worm, and today's video features the departure out of Ayacucho. We are going to fly from Ayacucho to Lima in Peru with the Toliss A320 in X-plane. I've recently covered the arrival, approach and landing into Ayacucho. Now we're going to depart again. And to show you what's going to happen, I've prepared a slide for the departure briefing. Here we have information in a nutshell. So when I talk about those complex flights out of the blue, it can get confusing, I guess. So today I'm showing my love for you viewers by setting up this beautiful slide. So let's address the items that you can see here. This is a screenshot of Navigraph charts, and in the lower right of the screen you can see Sierra Papa Hotel Oscar, which is Ayacucho Airport. This is where we're gonna begin our flight. And the magenta line is Navigraph connecting some waypoints with a straight line. Now this is not something that we can fly with the A320 because it's impossible to take off and do a 90-degree left turn immediately. This is not gonna happen. It's just straight lines between the waypoints. So what we're actually going to fly is the VFR departure, which is defined by those 5 visual reference points. I have labeled them in green here on the chart. So we will depart to the north, runway 02. We will fly into the valley. We'll have to turn left, align with the valley initially. We will look out, we can see some towns, Moyorina, La Vega, Huanta, so this will be visible. And our second reference point then is the town of Julcamarca. Julcamarca is located here at the number 2 here, and Julcamarca is not something that we will overfly. We are going to fly along this valley. It's basically the reversed procedure of the arrival and approach that I've covered in another video. Flying down here, and we'll have Julcamarca to the left. So the captain looks out to the left. He will hopefully be able to recognize Julcamarca, and he says, Julcamarca confirmed. So then we can continue. Down the valley. Again, we will take this path here. The heading or the course we're going to fly is round about 300 degrees, so northwest heading. Continue down here, and we will climb, of course. Climb. And at some point we will be able to recognize the terrain structures that are round about here, indicated by this power line here, but also by this shape here of the terrain, and then the town of Huancayo, which is visible there. To our right and to our left, a little bit later, we will be able to see this group of lakes here. Now, when we see those lakes, we are close to Udeni. Udeni is the waypoint where we cancel VFR and we begin the IFR flight. Cruising altitude will be flight level 300. That's the plan. Well, why did I choose Jucamarca? I mean, I have never been in Peru, but I found this information on the website of Aveo Peru, that you use Jucamarca as a reference point. And of course, this makes sense when you fly down this valley. It's something that you can see when you look out perpendicular to your flight path, because when you climb in an airliner like the A320, you're climbing out of Ayacucho, you have quite a pitch attitude, and you cannot see what's right in front of you. So the A320 is not designed for VFR flying, so it makes totally sense to have visual reference points that are not right in front of you, but to the left and to the right, because this is what you can see. On this departure, there are some potential threats that we have to take care of. Now, the birds, of course, as always. Now, I think the birds are not included in X-plane, but theoretically there can be birds. Mountains here, they are not going to be higher than 14,000 feet. Then, when you're flying in the mountains, there is a potential loss of GPS primary, but this is, of course, backed up by our visual reference points that we can see. And at some point, the GPS primary will then come back, hopefully. And if not, you could fly to the coast and then fly to Lima anyway, if needed. This would be possible. Unlikely to happen. Potentially icing conditions. Yeah, it can be cold over there, and you might have some clouds, and so yeah, you might have to engage the engine in times. Okay, so that's the basic plan. Now, let's have a look at the performance data. And of course, at the weather. So Sierra Papa Hotel Oscar. So let's check if this has changed. No, it has changed. Okay. So we have a wind 60 degrees, 3 knots. Visibility is 9. Few clouds, 2,000 feet above airfield, 16 degrees of temperature, and 1031 is the QNH, remark bird hazard, as they always write here. So visibility is very high. Let's look outside. You can see the weather here. So no clouds for the moment and great visibility. So, well, some clouds over here, but this is actually very good. Often here you have worse. At least in X-plane real weather, oftentimes it's worse, but today it's really great. So these are the weather data. So we have 60 degrees 3. I think this was 1031. Okay, so this is the takeoff weight. I've already entered the weight, center of gravity. Toga thrust takeoff with configuration 2, flaps 2, packs off, anti-ice off. Gives us those data and stopping margin of 498 meters. So I want to make a remark about the toga thrust and the packs off. We are standing on an airfield which is 9,000 feet high, so we definitely need the packs on departure. but we need also toga thrust, so on departure the APU and the APU bleed will be on in order to power the packs and to have full thrust available. So V1 127, we are 127, V2 131. I've already set this up in the performance page. Green dot speed is 209 knots. The transition altitude is going to be 22,000 feet. So we're going to fly with local QNH until we have passed the Mora minimum off-road altitude. Thrust reduction and acceleration altitude, I've set this to 14,000 feet, so I wanted to be very cautious. I don't have a system on how to determine this. It's just my opinion to choose this value. If you have another opinion on this, those thrust reduction and acceleration altitudes, how to determine them in such a non-standard situation, you can write a comment. I'm interested in thoughts on this. Okay, so these are the performance data. The landing in Lima is something that I don't want to talk about now, because this is a standard IFR operation, which is relatively boring compared to this departure out of Ayacucho. So before we depart from here, let's go over the departure briefing items briefly. So takeoff runway is 02. It's going to be a runway backtrack. We're very close here to the runway. Very short taxi, runway backtrack down here. Runway 02. SID, no, we haven't any. First click altitude, flight level 300. The Mora minimum off-road altitude for climb is 21,700 as indicated in the chart. Extra fuel and time. So we have currently 2.2 tons, 1 hour 11 minutes estimated extra fuel. Hotspots? Not really, because we don't even have a chart for Ayacucho. By the way, when we enter the runway for the backtrack, I want to be fully configured with the lineup checklist. Taxi checklist, lineup checklist should be complete by then. The stop margin for the rejected takeoff. There we have 498 meters, 498 meters. Engine out procedure. If an engine fails, I wouldn't want to return to Ayacucho, as I think this would be pretty dangerous to do. But instead, I would then want to continue the described procedure, climb to at least 22,000 feet to be clear of any obstacles, and then fly to Lima as quickly as possible on the shortest possible route, or maybe divert more to the coast in order to clear the mountains here. But I wouldn't want to return to Ayacucho with a crippled aircraft if the aircraft is able to fly. Then, speaking about crippled airplanes, on your route here down the valley, and we will pass between the lakes here and Huancayo. Over here is Georgia, which is another airport with a pretty long runway of, I remember it to be 3,000 meters or so, 4,000 meters. Can look it up here. Yeah, 9,000 feet. Well, in certain circumstances, maybe if you have a crippled airplane and you think you can't make it to Lima, maybe you would fly into this valley over Huancayo and land over there. Could be an option under very specific circumstances. Okay, so we are going to fly this on raw data initially with the flight director off. I have dialed in the V2 plus 10 knots here in the speed window, runway heading 025 degrees. Altitude, flight level 300. And once I've stabled, I'm on a stable climb. At some point I will engage the flight director, the heading mode, and the autopilot continue in the heading mode. Departure briefing complete. So cockpit preparation checklist. Gears, pins and covers are removed. The fuel quantity now is 6360 kilograms, which is balanced. Our seatbelts are on. RDS, we have 3 switches here in nav. Let's look at the position. We have 3 systems in nav with a very high accuracy. Well, the NDB, Ayacucho NDB, is in the box, and you can see that we received the signal. So the bar ref 1030, 1030, 1030. I think this is not up to date. It was 1031. Okay, 1031. 1031 on all 3 instruments. So the cockpit preparation is complete. So I'm going to call the talk now.
Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
The windows are closed, but the doors are still open. So the doors need to be closed.
Some doors are still opened or the GPU or the ASU are still connected. I'm waiting for all of them closed and disconnected, then I will proceed.
So now they're all closed. And
okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Before start checklist, park brake is set.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
So takeoff speed and thrust are in the box. The windows are closed and the beacon is on. Before start check is complete, and now we can release the parking brake.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Engine number 1 start. Engine number 1 available, engine number 2 start. Engine number 2 available. So, APO bleed is going to remain
Operation
on.
complete. Set parking brake.
Parking brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by. Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal will be on the right. We'll see you next time and have a great flight.
Thank you, bye bye. So, now it's time for the after start checklist. The anti-ice is off. PCAM status is checked. The pitch trim is down the rate. The rudder trim is neutral. After start check is complete. Now I want to check the flight controls. Ailerons and spoilers full right, neutral. Full left, neutral. Elevator full down, neutral. Full up, neutral. Rudder full right, neutral. Full left, neutral. Flight controls are checked. Oh, one thing to note is that I want to turn off the GPWS system because I don't want this to go off. We can see everything. So I'm doing taxi items now because I want it to be configured when on the runway. Start taxiing slowly. So I'm waiting for the engines to be warmed up, otherwise the takeoff config normal wouldn't work. It still doesn't work, it's still not warmed up. Okay, but this will be over in a few seconds. So, taxi checklist, flight control, let's stop the plane. flight controls are checked. The flap setting is 2. Radar predictive wind shear is on and auto. The engine mode selector is norm. The eco memo. Takeoff no blue. Taxi checklist is complete. So for the lineup, we are confirming that we are on the run in front of the runway. This is the direction for lining up on runway 02. Packs are on. I'll turn this on. TKS is TARA. Runway is clear to the left. It's also clear to the right. So I've done all of this before lining up, because if I start the backtrack first and then I usually get confused when doing this on the runway. So I'm better prepared. Landing lights. Can speed up a bit. Runway's dry. So after the backtrack and the lineup, we are going to perform a rolling takeoff. takeoff. Oh no, I'm messing it up with the lineup. So it's 50 stable. Toga. Airspeed alive, thrust set. Knots. We won. Rotate. Positive climb if you're up. So I'm going to turn now. Got the timer. So now I will engage the flight director and the autopilot in heading mode. Lever climb, thrust climb, open climb heading high blue 30,000 blue. So you should lower the nose now. Oh, the speed. Manage speed in order to accelerate. So can we see Chilkamaka? There it is, Chilkamaka, down there. So we are accelerating. We have to adjust the flight path a little bit. We can see how task saturating this procedure is. Speed checked flaps 1. Let's go this way. 330. Let's go. Okay. Turn off the landing lights now. APU bleed going to be off. Speed checked. Flap 0. APU off. Now to maintain the situational awareness considering the lateral flight path is very difficult in this phase of the flight, as the terrain here looks pretty much the same everywhere. So I think this valley over there is where we want to fly along for a while. So now let's remember that the next visual reference point is going to be the town of Huancayo and its surrounding valley. So GPS primary is available. And it would have been a good idea to put some fixes on the nav display, for example on Huancayo. That would have been helpful, as it is now actually source of information GPS available. So here we can see that there's another big valley, and Huancayo will come up soon. We can't see the group of lakes because we are too low, and we need to be significantly higher to actually spot this group of lakes over to our left. So here's Udini. So we have already passed the transition altitude, so I'm going to set standard QNH, flight level 300 blue. So I'm going to engage the nav mode and track to Udine directly. Nav. So here, this could be Huancayo. Okay, look out here. So here are the lakes. This is the group of lakes that we wanted to see. So here we know that this is right. We are on the right track. Yes, this is Huancayo down there. If you fly down there, you are getting down to Georgia. So, where are we? We are almost at Udine, and we have out cruise. We're on the cruise phase. So we can delete the Ayacucho MB. Here, better look on Huancayo and the River Mantaro, which continues over here. This is very familiar. Also, if you're flown to Georgia, I have done so and made a video about it, you will also be familiar with the structures around here, for example, with this lake here and with this very high mountain peak over there. And then we can already see the coast of the Pacific Ocean. Here again, the group of lakes here. Of course, with the lakes you can get confused because there are many lakes. So this is the actual group that we chose as a reference point because they are right next to Udine. So cancel VFR. Let's look on the Navgraph charts. Where are we now? Here. So when you're looking out for lakes, you have this group of lakes, but there are also lakes, so you might mix them up. When watching this in retrospect, I wonder if it would have been a more safe decision to aim for a more northern track directed towards the features that I've highlighted in green. Mantaro Valley and the city of Huancayo, to be precise. This would provide a more clear and definite indication of where you are, rather than flying over this more or less featureless terrain to the south of it. Nevertheless, these types of flight operations are big fun and educating, and I hope that you find this useful too. Thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. See you here.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.